Hey everybody, it's me, Zach. This is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, and I am back again to talk about, well, a few different people, a few different things. Really, mostly some of the side characters from AMBERLYNN's little corner of the internet, mostly just because I noticed just recently that a lot of them have suddenly reappeared again in the past week, and it kind of reminded me of some conversations that happened actually individually when they all came back. And so if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm specifically in this video going to be referring to Beck, Rafe and Hannah, Beck's roommate Logan, and Destiny. And I do just want to say, the goal of this video is for me to actually be a little bit more maybe rambly and just like have a conversation with you all, because I'm not really sure how I feel about all of it. I don't have like any notes written up, and this isn't also like, you know, my standard reaction where I have a video pulled up and I'm watching it in real time for the first time with you all on camera. And so just keep that in mind. I don't know that I have strong feelings about any of this, but I did think there were things that we could discuss regarding all of these like community posts that have been made and or lack of content that hasn't been made, and or just, you know, more of the same from our friends on the YouTubies and the AMBERLYNN Read corner of the internet. So maybe we should go a little bit chronologically, or at least with like the first one that came back. And a couple days ago, after not streaming or posting anything on YouTube, let me make sure, yeah, it looks like the last time Destiny posted a video on YouTube was a month ago. And the last time she live streamed on YouTube prior to the one that she did this week was 2 months ago. And so a few days ago, she did do a live stream, a 2-hour-long live stream. And I gotta tell you, for the most part, it was Yawn City. It's interesting because, you know, when we're talking about like Rafe and Hannah, when we're talking about Beck, a large conversation that a lot of people had with all of those folks and them coming back to YouTube was that they were potentially grifting, that they were trying to make some money off of, you know, their connection to AMBERLYNN Read, this, that, the other. And that argument did come up occasionally when Destiny came out this summer and started telling all the truths about AMBERLYNN Read and things like that. In fact, I did bring that up whenever Destiny came out, and like a lot of people were like, Zach, you should be so understanding to Destiny. Like, Destiny deserves to tell her story, like this happened to her. And I don't actually disagree with that at all, and I also said as much in my videos at the time. But it is interesting to me, specifically in Destiny's case, that she made a bunch of promises to come back with like vlogging content and stuff that was not going to be about AMBERLYNN. In fact, in many live streams, she was like, all right, this is literally the end of what I have in regards to content about AMBERLYNN. So like anything you see on the channel from here on forward is just going to be about me and fiance number 3 or 4. I don't remember which fiance number she's on. But she essentially was like, I'm only going to talk about my life moving forward, but I did just want to get out some of the things about AMBERLYNN to like heal. And again, I do think that Destiny can say whatever she wants about her time with AMBERLYNN. I think like she was on camera for a lot of that, and it's fair for her to tell her side of what was happening at the time. But I do think she was also somewhat transparent in the fact that she did know that like that was gonna be an opportunity for her to make money, you know? I just find it more interesting that nobody had an issue with that, and now she's come back, and the most interesting things about that 2-hour live stream, if any of it was truly interesting, was any of the stuff that she had to say about AMBERLYNN, and any of the stuff that she did have to say was like lukewarm tea at best. And I think you can tell even by like the views that it currently sits at that like people weren't really there for it, didn't really care, because it's sitting at, as I'm recording and filming at this time, 6.8 thousand views. Whereas when she was live streaming about AMBERLYNN Reid and posting about AMBERLYNN Reid, she was getting views in the double digits. Like, some of the particular, like, truth-spilling videos in particular had like 50,000 views on it, you know? So it was a pretty big difference. So I was just thinking a lot about that because then, as you all know, whenever Beck came on to the internet recently, so many people were happy to give money to Beck of their own free will. Okay, I think that's like important to remember that when like people on the internet give money to strangers that they've never met before, they only know on the internet that they're doing that of their own free will. But a lot of people were very critical of Beck and saying like, oh, you're just trying to get this grift. Like, it's clear that you just came on here with a sob story and now you want money and this, that, the other. And a lot of people were like, Beck always does this. Like, Beck will come on to the internet whenever they're short money and try to get a bunch of money from the people of the internet, from their experience of being with AMBERLYNN, and then they'll disappear. And when I heard that argument at the time, I was like, that's not entirely fair, because after Beck broke up with AMBERLYNN, they didn't do anything on the internet for a while, and then they did start their channel, and then they did post on their channel pretty consistently until they just like, clearly there was a part where they stopped posting, okay? And between that time where they stopped posting and the time where they most recently came back to YouTube, that was the only time that I could see where they had just completely stopped posting. And so I was like, that's not entirely fair. You know, we haven't really given Beck a huge chance to show that they're invested in really trying to build this channel or do YouTube even as a hobby or whatever it might be. But I will say it now has been also a few weeks since Beck has posted anything. I think it's been 2 weeks since Beck's last video that they posted, and also about 2 weeks since they last went live on their channel. And they did make a community tab post update, just letting folks know where they're at and what's up. So they said specifically, hey everyone, sorry it's been a minute. I've been busy working and trying to adjust back onto my medications that I didn't have for 3 weeks. And it's a bit rocky trying to adjust, so I've been dealing with bouts of anxiety with it. But I have been editing a few different videos and will have content up soon. It's just all been a lot lately, so I put YouTube on the back burner for a short while. But I do have content I'm working on and trying to edit better. I miss everyone and I have so much fun stuff planned for the future of the channel. My channel has been a mix of things and there's one common goal: to give comfort and to not feel alone. Familiarity and randomness. My channel is like a wonder ball. You never know what you're gonna get, but you might enjoy it regardless. I do it for me. I put out what I like to watch, what soothes me, what feels good, because I feel that what you put out is what you get back, and I want to soothe hurting hearts. Every single one of us has a hurting heart. It's part of the price of existing as humans. This life is just an experience, and the meaning is to love, be kind, be silly, be honest, and heal. That's what I want, and it's what I want to put out on my channel. I'll talk more about my life and experiences and share the people close to me with you all from time to time. So there will be more to come. We're all back porch pals, so stick around to chill with me some more. Heart, you youngins are... chef's kiss, and then I don't know what the last emoji was supposed to be. It's not showing up on my computer. So I had to say, I do appreciate that they checked in and made this post, and I hope that this will speak to what a lot of people were saying about Beck, at least negatively. So a lot of people were like, get a real job and this, that, and the other. And it's like, clearly Beck does have a job outside of just YouTube, and YouTube is not specifically the only thing that they're doing with their life. Although it does sound like something that they would like to spend more time doing with their life. I hope it also eases some of the people who were concerned about like medicine and the medical part of like, all these people rushing to send money to Beck. I know that there were a lot of questions about like what's going on with that and things like that, but I think if you're sending money to Beck, you are doing it in good faith that Beck's going to use it for what they say they're going to use it for, and it seems like, as far as I can tell, Beck is using it for their health, so good for them. I think I'm mostly just bringing this up though because it is one of those things where I think all of the people I'm talking about today don't understand what it takes to truly like establish a community and an audience, right? And so if you do disappear for whatever the reason, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that Beck disappeared necessarily, but in the context of like building a community and building a channel, you do have to build some level of consistency and trust with your community, right? And if you just disappear for weeks at a time, I mean, I am glad that this update was given, but it has also been weeks. And sometimes that's not enough for people. And hopefully Beck has a lot of people in their community that it won't care or don't care and are okay with them coming and going as needed. But you can't talk about Beck and this concept of grifting and things like that and not bring up Beck's roommate Logan. And the thing about Logan is that, people were happy to send money to Beck. They feel like they have an established relationship with Beck and this, that, the other. People had a lot of concerns about Logan's involvement as Beck's roommate because Beck started talking about like sharing some of the money with Logan. Beck also was promoting Logan's Cash App or Venmo, one or the other. I know Logan only had one or the other. I'm not sure which one it was. And also Beck promoted Logan's YouTube channel, this brand new YouTube channel. And my understanding is that a lot of people felt like the reason that they were skeptical of Logan is that in a live stream, they did reference that Logan's fiance knew who AMBERLYNN was, and as such knew Beck because of that. Now, my initial understanding of that whole situation is that Beck and Logan became friends at work, and then Logan let his fiance know about Beck, and that's when the fiance was like, oh, that's AMBERLYNN Reed's ex. But a lot of people don't think that's how it happened. A lot of people interpreted it as like, oh, the fiance knew about it, and now as such, Logan knows what kind of like cash cow this can be, like how you can like get a lot of clout and free money just by being associated with AMBERLYNN Reed on the internet. And so a lot of people question Logan's motives and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to the YouTube channel we are talking about, okay, that Beck promoted of Logan's, Logan 2 weeks ago posted one video. It's a 20-minute long video. I've not watched it because I'm not particularly interested in getting to know Logan, but it's literally called Get to Know Me Episode 1, and that's the only thing. Right? That's the only thing that was added to this channel, and there hasn't been any more since. So again, it's like if you want to build a community, you have to do a little bit more than just posting once and then disappearing for a while. And then the other thing is like all of these people could be potentially interesting on their own. They really could potentially be interesting on their own. It's hard to say because we, for the most part, haven't seen a lot of them without the context of AMBERLYNN, right? But I think if they started doing some of that stuff, we might get a better idea of like if we like them or not sans AMBERLYNN Reed. And to that extent, I do really feel like all of the people mentioned thus far are really relying on their connection to AMBERLYNN for there to be any interest in their channel whatsoever. Let me just say here that I understand the concept of like I also to a certain extent rely on AMBERLYNN for content. I can just envision some of the comments about that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm simply here to try to help them expand outside of that, since that's what it seems like they want to do with their channels. Does that make sense? I hope that clears that up for you. Because, I mean, let's face it, that's primarily what people are interested in because that's all they've given. With the exception of Beck. Beck has posted I think, a game where they were playing video games. They were playing the old GoldenEye N64 game. And they also posted a spirit box spooky wooky thing as well. And so, Beck is probably the exception. But otherwise, Destiny has fully not followed through on sharing other things outside of AMBERLYNN. And Logan's whole hope for success on his channel is connected to anybody caring that he's roommates with AMBERLYNN's ex. And all of that brings me back to some advice that I gave Rafe and Hannah in a video. Not that Rafe or Hannah are necessarily watching my video, right? But I gave advice in a video where I talked about Rafe and Hannah coming back to YouTube, and they posted something or another about asking if people wanted a Q&A to get to know them. If doing a Q&A would be helpful in getting to know them. And my advice was that, skip the Q&A and just do stuff on your channel that will help us get to know you, right? Show me your interest. Talk about the things you like and enjoy. Do something to establish who you are, sans AMBERLYNN Reid, because that's what's gonna build the audience that makes you interesting or gives you some kind of community. And to some extent, I think all of these people have watched the AMBERLYNN Reid way of making a video, right? AMBERLYNN is the YouTuber that they actually all know in real life in some kind of way. And so they've seen her success and think, wow, it's that easy. And the reality is that truly AMBERLYNN Reid is an anomaly in that setting, AMBERLYNN Reid has had success in a way that probably most people today on YouTube would not have success in a similar way. I think AMBERLYNN really truly got lucky in terms of stumbling into creating the lowest effort content and still having people interested in her life and what she was doing. And so they being Destiny, Logan, Beck, Rafe, Hannah, they all see just the low effort content, not realizing that in addition to the low effort content, AMBERLYNN has gone out of her way to make herself the most unlikable troll on the internet for a lot of people, okay? I'm not saying I dislike AMBERLYNN. I'm saying AMBERLYNN has done a lot to manufacture some drama around her. We know that she's talked extensively about trolling on purpose, and knowing that a lot of the people who watch her and the views that she gets are from people that don't like her. So all these other people are ignoring that part of AMBERLYNN's success, but still trying to copy the basic parts of the content that she's making, right? They're doing all the boring parts of what AMBERLYNN's content is, without adding in the interesting parts, which unfortunately is all the times that AMBERLYNN is trolled and things like that. And those Q&As are a perfect example of that, right? Because nobody's tuning in to watch a Q&A from Rafe and Hannah, two people that we haven't seen on the internet in years, now all of a sudden resurfacing, who, by the way, will do a Q&A, but don't want you to ask any questions about the one thing that we know about them, which is that they used to be friends with AMBERLYNN Reid. So it's all kind of silly. It's all kind of silly. But speaking of Rafe and Hannah, they also made a post literally today saying, "Hi, it's been a minute, and we came back with me feeling very broken. I've been throwing myself into editing, though. It's a distraction, something I can focus on, so another video should be up soon. Everyone have a great day and hug those you love most. Furry, scaly, feathery, or fleshy." And then it's signed H, so I assume Hannah wrote it. I also want to say in editing mode, I realized that this particular community tab post seems to be in reference to a video that they posted yesterday that I didn't see. That seems to be about them losing a pet. And obviously, I didn't know that when I was reading that community tab post. I missed that part. So the rest of this video, or the tone of the rest of the video, doesn't have that in mind. Although I think that the things that I'm saying are relevant and do matter. But what I will say is, obviously, my thoughts are with them. Losing a pet is super difficult, and I hope that they are taking care of themselves and taking time to grieve and mourn their animal. Which is just interesting, because also, what kind of extensive editing are any of these people doing? Because this is now, Rafe and Hannah have said this, and Beck also said that. I've watched their videos. We're not talking about extensive, like, fancy editing. I don't know what they're really waiting on. And when it comes to building a YouTube channel, especially in the early days, it's more important to have consistent content and build up that audience from the beginning than it is to sit there and worry about all the ins and outs of editing and filming and having the most perfect video. Because the reality is that the more you do it, you're going to learn along the way. Or if you know, like, when it comes to, like, editing, you're going to be like, man, I've seen how people do that in the videos that I've watched. I want to figure out how to do that in my video. And so you go and teach yourself. But it's more important, and this is just general advice that I can give to anybody. In fact, a lot of people often ask me, like, Zach, I really want to start a channel. Like, how do I get started? What do I do? And I think truly the advice I always give is just get started. Start filming. Use what you got right now, and then you can make upgrades later, whether that's in the way that you edit, whether that's to the camera you use to film, the lighting. You can make those edits along the way, but so many people get caught up in the, like, I've got to make the perfect video for YouTube, and then they never end up posting. And I kind of feel like, to some extent, that's what's going on with some of these folks that we're talking about today as well. Although I think a lot of it is that they just, like, unlike AMBERLYNN, unlike me, they're not doing this for a living. And so, you know, life is crazy. And if you're working a full-time job, it's hard to do all of this at once and keep the grind going and keep posting and whoever, whatever. So I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting that I'm sitting here trying to give these people advice to be, like, successful on YouTube. And I think the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is all why a lot of people do think that they're just here for the grift, because, you know, the content that they do put out every once in a while is low effort, uninteresting, and I think a lot of them think that they're gonna just have the success that AMBERLYNN had and that it's that easy. When the reality is that, like, say what you want about AMBERLYNN, but to some extent, she knows what she's doing on YouTube, right? Like, to some extent, she knew how to build that audience in a way that these people haven't. Which I'm not saying everybody wants to build the audience that AMBERLYNN Reed has, but I'm saying, like, they're missing that part. You feel me? I don't know. I feel like today's video is just a bunch of me rambling, but it is what it is, to be honest. I'm glad that I even made a video, period, because I woke up today. Well, I didn't post a video yesterday, if you check daily for me to post videos. But I woke up today and I just wasn't feeling super inspired to film anything, and I was also distracted by other things. I've been maybe involved in a little drama with the Dollar Tree Diva community. Some people not happy that I exposed their conspiracy theory podcast that they got going on YouTube, and so I was paying attention to that drama a little bit today. If you want to get caught up at least on the conspiracy theory part of that, I do have a Twitch re-upload that I just posted last night that you can go check out. But yeah, I've just been distracted by other things, and then I was looking around and I just saw all these people posting all of this stuff and how they all kind of, like, came back this week. And by they all, I mean Rafe, Hannah, Destiny, and Beck. They all came back this week, and I was just like, this is interesting. It's interesting because the critique was that, like, Beck only pops in from time to time when they need money, and I'm like, I didn't really think that at the time, and I'm still not entirely sure that that's what I feel like's happening here either, because I think, you know, the reasons that they mentioned for being gone are legit, but it does make you wonder. It sure does. So anyways, happy to hear your thoughts and feelings and opinions down below. And I would like to see what the community thinks, the people in my audience think about it. And otherwise, I think that's all I have today. So thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit of a different format of a video for me, where I just was rambling Reed over here, but I appreciate you being here. If it's your first time, consider subscribing. Down below, hit the bell button so you get a notification every single time I post a new video. Make sure to leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I love you all so, so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!